Batra Daf continuing on Amud Bet, third line. We mentioned plowing before, let's continue. Near eno hazaka, v'yoshomrim hareza hazakas. Near plowing is not considered hazaka for 3 years, and some say it is. It can establish v'yoshomrim. So Saman Yeshomrim, who is the author of those that say Yeshomrim? Rav Chizdar v'yachahi. It must be Rabbi Achar. It's in the Brita says. Nara Shanav Uzra'ash time. First opinion holds that if the guy who's on the field plowed it for 1 year and planted it for 2, or Narash time Uzra'a is a Shana, he plowed it for 2 and planted it for 1, in a Hazakat doesn't count. Rabbi Aha says, Harezu Hazakat, the good Hazakat, so he obviously holds that plowing counts. Marvashi, Sha'at, Kol Hadur Amruli, Nir Hada Hazakah, Rashi says that other Chachamim told him as well that it is plowing is considered Hazakah. What's the reason that one who holds plowing is considered part of the Hazakah? It says, the person won't let someone else plow his land without saying anything. That's why it counts. What is the opinion that say that it does not count? Plowing does not count Hazakah. Why does he hold not? Because there's Koshiv, Shiva, the reason why it doesn't count is because the guy is watching the guy work on his land. And he's like, let him work till tomorrow. I don't care. He's working on my land for free. Faddal. Break your back on it. I don't care. Therefore, when he's not saying anything, doesn't mean that he belongs to the guy who's plowing. Shouldn't count as Hazakah. He just didn't care. You want to work on my land for free? Faddal. Asked the question, dear Rabbi, Nida might have a Hazakah or the Hazakah. Is plowing considered Hazakah or not? What's the psak? I'm late. It does count. Is it a great thing to mention that a lot of Chachamim say so? What does it mean? Oh, a lot of Chachamim hold that it counts. What's the point of saying that? Racha said, all the Chachamim of the generation. Mar says, how Rav Shmuel, but both Rav and Shmuel and Bavel say, Rabbi Shmuel, Rabbi Akiva, Eretz Yisrael, Rabbi Shmuel, Rabbi Akiva, also in Eretz Yisrael, Amrei no Hazakah. They say plowing is not considered Hazakah. So very nice. You get a lot of rabbis agree that it is, but we have rabbis that say they don't. So Rabbi Shmuel, Rabbi Akiva might continue to mention Rabbi Shmuel, Rabbi Akiva's opinion on Mishnah, 1 month, 3 months, whether or not it counts. We see that it doesn't count. Hazakah for plowing. So Rav Mahi, you said Rav as well. Where we see Rav holds that plowing does not count. Rav, so did Rabbi Shmuel, Rabbi Akiva. Say a field that is for 3 full years. What does it mean day to day? Sounds like it's excluding plowing, which does not count as part of the Chazakah. So Rav agrees to that. Says Shmuel Mahi, what's the source of Shmuel that holds that doesn't count? Hazakah does not consider Hazakah until you harvest 3 sets of crops of dates. You sow 3 sets of crops of grapes. You sow 3 sets of crops of olives, which is 3 full years. So we see that plowing doesn't count. What's the difference between Rav and Shmuel? We see both of them holding it 3 years. The difference in opinions is regarding a young date palm that it grows, because that young date palm gets 3 crops in less than 3 years. So according to Shmuel, who holds that you just need 3 sets of crops, then it could be under 3 years. But Rav, on the other hand, requires 3 as a minimum, regardless of how many crops. Our Mishnah mentioned the case that it only applies to Hazakah by a grain field. From Rabbi Shmuel, we can understand the Rabbi Hanan's opinion. The land that has 30 trees planted in a betza'ah. So they have 30 trees in this property. Let's say the guy used the first harvest of 10 trees in the first year, and the second set of 10 in the second year, the last set of 10 in the third year. So Hazakah counts. Now, Rabbi Ishmael had Pira have Hazakah the whole Piri. Rabbi Ishmael obviously didn't he hold that Hazakah on 1 crop is counting and as everything? So Hakanami, so to over here, Hani have a Hazakah lahani. Even though he's only doing 10 trees at a time, it still counts for the rest of the field. The Hani Hana Hazakah Hani. Right? You don't need necessarily the whole field to be done. Partial is considered complete. But the only time that works 10, 10, 10. That only applies where the other 20 didn't have any fruits. But if 20 trees were growing at the same time and you only took off 10, that does not show ownership. That just shows you're trying to hide something. And therefore, if you only took 10, It doesn't show you the owner. So that only applies when there's 10 growing at a time. Also, when you're taking 10 at a time, you can't be 10 in a single row or in a single portion of the land. It has to be scattered throughout. So that shows that you have a hand in the entire field. Let's say a guy did a chazakah on the trees, and the other guy did a chazakah on the land. Do you acquire any land next to your trees or not? So I did a hazakah on the trees, I picked the fruits to the trees, and the guy did a hazakah on the land, he gets the land. Do I have any rights to the land near my tree? No. You get the tree, you get the land, no rights at all. That's the case. If it's true that the owner of the tree doesn't get any land, he only gets the tree exclusively, then why can't the land evict the tree guy? Take your tree and kish. You don't own the land that the tree's on. They don't have a point. Yes, to re-explain it. זה كان not v'hatzi karka. זה كان hatzi karka. The guy uses the word half, but doesn't mean half. But it means that yes, when the guy acquires his trees, he gets the trees and the surrounding land, and the guy gets the rest of the land. Okay. So therefore, if let's say the tree dies, for example, he can replant it because he owns that surrounding area as well. Cheetah, obviously, the guy sold the land and he left the trees on it for himself. So he owned the entire property and he did not sell the trees. He definitely has the trees around him because he did not want to make himself stranded without land around his own trees. Even according to Rabbi Akiva, who holds that when a person sells, he sells generously, which means he doesn't leave himself. Right? We'll see later on in Living Perek that when, let's say, a guy is selling the land and he has a pit or a tree, and he sells generously, which means he sells even without a path to get there. He has faith in the buyer that he'll allow him to walk through the field to get to his pit. So let's say that we'll hold that the guy will sell generously, he won't keep himself a path to his pit. That only applies to buy a pit or a water pit. Because they don't ruin the ground next to it. That's why in that case the guy doesn't retain rights. Because the guy won't stop me. He has no reason to stop me. But if the guy's selling the land and there's trees that he's leaving for himself, but trees, which are problematic for this new landowner, because now the land will get ruined by the trees. So maybe the guy won't let him come onto the land to deal with his trees as he doesn't want to deal with it. So therefore, when the seller sells, he's selling it with a path / land access to the trees because the buyer otherwise won't allow him to have access because the trees bother him, versus the case of the water pit or a regular pit. The guy doesn't mind selling the land included even around it because the guy has no reason to stop me from visiting my pit.